Hae Min Lee. Just saying her name brings a chill even decades later. But do we really know the story behind this young woman's tragic death, the shocking twists in her final hours, and the questions that continue to haunt investigators and true crime enthusiasts around the world? Stick with me, because what you think you know might only scratch the surface. And before we dive deeper into this case, make sure to hit like and subscribe. This story is full of twists you won't want to miss. Hae Min Lee was born on October 18, 1980 in South Korea. Her family moved to Baltimore, Maryland, seeking better opportunities and a brighter future. Growing up, Hae was described as diligent, kind, and intelligent. She wasn't just another high school student. She was thoughtful, ambitious, and someone who carried a quiet determination in everything she did. Friends and classmates remembered her as dependable and organized, someone who kept her word and always showed up when she said she would. These traits would make her disappearance all the more alarming, because Hae had a reputation for being predictable, trustworthy, and careful. By 1999, Hae was attending Woodlawn High School, balancing academics, athletics, and work. She played lacrosse and field hockey, maintained strong grades, and held a part-time job at LensCrafters. She was well-liked among her peers, quietly admired for her discipline and her kind nature. She had dreams of college, aspirations that extended far beyond the halls of her high school, and a promising life that at the time seemed completely ordinary. But sometimes the most ordinary lives hide the darkest tragedies. On Wednesday, January 13, 1999, Hae's routine took a turn that no one could have predicted. She attended school as usual, planning to pick up her younger cousin after classes, a responsibility she had upheld countless times before. But that afternoon, Hae didn't arrive. At first, perhaps some thought she was simply delayed, but with Hae, delays were unusual. She was punctual, consistent, and meticulous. When she didn't show, it immediately set off alarms. Her family acted quickly. They contacted the police the same evening and filed a missing person report. Friends and classmates began making calls, trying to trace her movements. Every attempt to find her failed. Days passed with no word, and anxiety turned to dread. Something was seriously wrong. This wasn't a teenager skipping school or getting into minor trouble. This was someone who had never broken the rules, never strayed from routine, and suddenly vanished without a trace. Weeks went by, and the search intensified. Then on February 9, 1999, almost a month after her disappearance, a man walking through Leakin Park, a heavily wooded and isolated area of Baltimore, made a grim discovery. While looking for a quiet spot in the woods, he stumbled upon what appeared to be a human body, partially buried under dirt and leaves. Police were called immediately, and the body was soon identified through dental records. It was Hae Min Lee. The medical examiner ruled her death a homicide caused by manual strangulation. The realization hit everyone. Hae hadn't run away. She hadn't gone missing by choice. She had been killed. And just like that, a missing person investigation became a homicide case. Detectives began piecing together Hae's final hours. Who had seen her that day? Where had she gone after school? Who could she have trusted enough to get into a car with? Investigators examined her school schedule, her friendships, and her family life. Every detail mattered. Every phone call, every interaction, every seemingly insignificant event could hold the key to understanding what had happened. Early in the investigation, one name began to emerge: Adnan Syed, Hae's ex-boyfriend. Their relationship had been secret, partly due to her family's disapproval. They had broken up, but maintained a seemingly friendly connection. While classmates described their interactions as normal, police questioned Adnan intensely. They wanted to know if jealousy, anger, or resentment could have led to violence. Adnan consistently denied involvement, insisting he cared for Hae and would never harm her. Then came the testimony that would become the backbone of the case: Jay Wilds. Jay was not Adnan's closest friend, but he claimed to have inside knowledge of the crime. According to Jay, Adnan had told him he planned to kill Hae and later asked for help disposing of her body. Jay stated he had assisted in hiding her body in Leakin Park. But Jay's story shifted multiple times. Details, times, and events changed between interviews. Investigators struggled to reconcile his statements with phone records and other evidence. Still, Jay's testimony became central to the prosecution's case. raising questions that remain controversial to this day. On February 28, 1999, Adnan Syed was arrested for first-degree murder. He was only 17 years old. The news shocked classmates and teachers alike. Many described him as intelligent, respectful, and soft-spoken, someone who didn't fit the profile of a violent criminal. His arrest set off a firestorm of debate in Woodlawn High School, the local community, and later, across the nation. The trial began in 2000. Prosecutors painted a picture of a jealous ex-boyfriend who snapped after the breakup. They relied heavily on Jay's testimony and cell phone records, claiming these placed Adnan near Leakin Park when the murder occurred. The defense countered, highlighting gaps in the evidence. No DNA, no fingerprints linking Adnan to Hae or her car, and no witnesses confirming the alleged timeline. Yet the jury found Adnan guilty, sentencing him to life plus 30 years. For over a decade, the case faded from public view, though the questions never disappeared. In 2014, the podcast Serial reignited worldwide interest. Hosted by Sarah Koenig, Serial meticulously examined the inconsistencies in the case, asking questions millions of listeners began to ask themselves. Could Jay's story be entirely reliable? Were the cell tower records accurately interpreted? Why wasn't Asia McClain, a potential alibi witness, ever contacted by the defense? The podcast turned Adnan's story into a global discussion. People debated timelines, scrutinized evidence, and questioned the fairness of his original trial. Legal experts highlighted serious procedural issues, and the public became deeply divided. Some argued Adnan was wrongfully convicted, a young man trapped in a flawed investigation. Others maintained that the evidence, despite its flaws, still pointed toward his guilt. In 2016, a Maryland judge granted Adnan a new trial, citing potential violations of his right to effective legal representation. Years of appeals followed, and in 2022, new prosecutors reviewed the case, revealing that several pieces of evidence had never been turned over to the defense. These included possible alternative suspects and other critical information. The court vacated his conviction, and after 23 years in prison, Adnan walked free. But the relief was short-lived. Later that year, an appeals court reinstated the conviction based on procedural matters, leaving the case in legal limbo. Amid the legal battles and media attention, the focus often shifts away from Hae herself. She was more than a case file. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a young woman whose life was cut tragically short. Her death left a lasting impact on her family, her community, and even the broader discourse on criminal justice and investigation. Her story sparked conversations about how missing person cases are handled, how evidence is collected, and how assumptions can cloud judgment. Even today, questions remain. Was justice served? Could Adnan have been wrongly convicted? Were there leads the police overlooked? Who else might have had motive or opportunity? And perhaps most hauntingly, why was a promising young life ended so suddenly and in such a violent way? What makes Hae Min Lee's story so compelling and so difficult to walk away from is the mixture of tragedy, mystery, and uncertainty. The more you dig, the more questions arise. Every detail, every timeline discrepancy, every witness statement opens new paths for speculation. Every listener or viewer finds themselves asking, could I have solved this? Could the justice system have gotten it wrong? And those questions are what keep millions returning to the story, decade after decade. Hae's life, though short, left an enduring mark. The attention her case has received forced changes in how cold cases are examined, how forensic evidence is scrutinized, and how media coverage can shape public perception. Her story reminds us that behind every sensational headline is a real person, with a life, dreams, and family who never stop mourning. Even now, as legal appeals, public debate, and media analysis continue, one thing remains clear. Hae Min Lee is more than a mystery. She is a symbol of the fragility of life, the imperfection of human investigation, and the questions that sometimes remain unanswered for decades. So, what really happened to Hae Min Lee? Was justice served? And if not, will the truth ever be revealed? These are questions you will carry with you long after this video ends, questions that have gripped the public imagination for more than 20 years. If you found this story as compelling as millions of others have, make sure to subscribe for more high-retention, real-life murder mysteries. Share your thoughts in the comments. Who do you believe is responsible for Hae Min Lee's death? Do you think the conviction was fair, or is justice still out there waiting to be uncovered? Your insights help keep these discussions alive. Thank you for watching.